this be?
No, it's not the end any more than photography meant the end of painting and so on. Any more than sound in the cinema meant the end of the movies, which people were convinced it was when it first came in. No, every new technological development simply takes us a further step in understanding and exploring the power and the possibilities of the moving image. And this one takes us in another direction and also begins to disturb our, and in very useful ways, make us more playful with how we tell stories because of how the internet itself, people absorb information through the internet. But I think what I hope it'll do, it will provoke people that run cinemas to make cinemas a more exciting place to be, perhaps more comfortable, projection fantastic, so that you know when you go to the big cinematic experience, you're going to have an experience that is extraordinary and unique, and it's not being replaced by cell phones. But cell phones and so on also give you the opportunity for an intimate experience that you can control, you can take with you, you can put a movie in your pocket.
Well, Jude, I presume you heard what Sally said there. Do you feel that in any way the fact that you might be seeing a film on a tiny little screen, does that in any way diminish the power of cinema?
Well, it depends what the film's like. What's been very clever about this, you know, if it's a film that takes in enormous wide shots encompassing, you know, landscapes and thousands of people, or, you know, armies attacking armies, I think watching it on a tiny screen probably, you know, you will probably lose some of its impact. But this particular film, there's an intimacy to this, which relates purely to the human face, on different faces of different people. It works very, very well. And in a way, as Sally said, with the development in this technology, it will demand filmmakers to maybe think of different ways of using this medium to express themselves. I would suggest they don't try and remake Lawrence of Arabia and release that on a telephone.
OK, well, I think we've got a question for you now, Jude, from Tracy in Dundrum in Ireland. Go ahead, Tracy.
Hello. Hi, question for Jude. Hi, Jude. Did you find it difficult to physically transform from woman to man? From
man's woman's man.
I'm still working on it.
OK. Well, we assume not literally, anyway. So tell us, Jude.
Well, I mean, I don't mean to be pernickety, but like I said before, I don't see Minx as female, so I wasn't playing someone of the opposite sex. I was playing a sort of creation. But maybe to answer your question, walking on 6-inch heels was very hard, and shaving everything from the waist up every day was quite taxing, and particularly prickly for the following 3 months. But I found it strangely freeing. I think I've said this before. When you play parts that allow you to wear, I don't know, a false nose or eye contact lenses or fake teeth or a wig or something like that, it frees you in a certain way. And I discovered, obviously, in this part, there's a huge mask to wear, which is, you know, makeup of a particular kind and hair and incredible costumes, and so I felt very free behind that mask.
Great, thank you. Well, we've now got Sarah in Aberystwyth, and she's got a question for Sally. Go ahead, Sarah.
Hi. I write about Shakespeare and films, so I wanted to ask what the thinking was behind the allusions to Shakespeare.
Well, Shakespeare has, I guess, said it all, but it was really about wanting to create a part for the detective, played by David Oyelowo, that went against type, that was unexpected and was itself quotation upon quotation, the genre of detectives on film, as well as the specific quotations that he is using to think his way through his own role in a society where he could have been the chased, but has decided to become the chaser. And so it seemed through these quotations and references that we could explore that idea in a very rich and quite funny way.
Okay, well, the next question is from the Duke of York Cinema in Brighton, and it's Nina. Go ahead, Nina.
Hi. You may have answered most of this question. It's a question for Sally Potter. I was interested in the position of Michelangelo in the film, and I wondered how much it mattered in terms of the audience. I think I heard you say that you set him up as a blank canvas. And I wondered how much more, what our position, you wanted our position to be in relation to Michelangelo. How much did we need to know about him and how you worked on it with the actors? I appreciate that you did the shooting of the camera, but I wondered how you set it up so that the actors were addressing Michelangelo's character.
Before you answer, let me just ask the actors, what did you know about Michelangelo?
That he was a young black kid.
Actually, I was told that he was ethnically kind of a bit more ambiguous, so everybody thought he was from... So that the reason my character, Vijay, was really opening up with him was that he thought he was Indian in some way, and then David's character, and then your character...
I always saw him black.
Thanks a lot, Sally.
With hair like this, I don't know why.
But was it important that you knew, obviously, it was
It was
Sally,
important to imagine.
Yeah.
It was very important to imagine, no matter what we imagine, but to someone through imagination. Because when we talk about acting, of course, but one of the most important tools of the actors is to imagine. And the one who makes the imagine works, to that point make it happen, is the director. In this case was Sally, and it was this height of the camera which Sally was holding. And it was all imagination.
So, well, Lily, I think, is still with us in New York somewhere, doesn't... Oh, there you are. Lily, what were you told about, since it seems that Rhys and Simone were told different things about Michelangelo, what were you told?
Oh, I was, sorry, I lost you for a bit. I had quite an ambiguous impression of him too. I knew he was probably about 12 years old. We had a kind of vague sense of height and physical characterization that we were responding to. Ethnically, it was never specified, but quite an ambiguous idea, but I think the sense more was who he was as a personality, and the sense was of very kind of innocent eyes that weren't judgmental and weren't necessarily judging any of these characters who came in front of his screen. And I think it was that openness that we were being responsive to rather than, any particular physical presence.
So you actually saw him as a child, then?
Yeah, I saw him as probably like a 12-year-old boy. I could be wrong. I don't know what everyone else just said.
But it doesn't matter as far as you're concerned.
Well, it does matter for me as a writer. I had to have a sense of who this child was, and indeed for me he was 12, and with a look that could have been interpreted differently, so that the characters could bond with him depending on what they assumed he was, and they could make those assumptions precisely because he never spoke. But what was really key was not what he was, but the relationship he made with them. And that's really what we worked on, and what I worked on with every single actor was, how do you make a relationship with a fictitious character? And of course, the key in this is that he is the only one listening in the room. And it's the field of his attentive gaze that permits these characters to open up, to unburden, to unravel, to unmask. And what I tried to do behind the camera, was embody that kind of listening intensity, total focus, total openness, and a kind of benign, loving respect to this character in front of me. And I hope that the actors felt that and were able to play in that space.
Okay, we've got a question that's been sent in by text here from Dina Serra, and it's for Eddie. And Eddie, the question is preparing for